Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Monday Morning. It's Stephen Whiteside here from the uptrend.com. In the pre-market this morning, stock index futures are currently below fair value, but not by much. Dow futures down 50, 60 points, so not enough to get anybody overly excited. Commodities are mixed with gold down while crude oil is up 70 cents in the pre-market. And we've got Bitcoin selling off a little bit right now, down about $2,000 on Monday morning. Now, we don't have any major economic numbers coming out today, so not expecting a lot of additional volatility in the pre-market. Now, the VIX is supportive for higher stock prices. The weekly VIX is still on a sell signal. That would change this coming Friday if the VIX were to close above 2055. Coming into Monday's trading action, the VIX for the S&P 500 is also on a sell signal. And again, that's supportive for short-term upward movement in the market. And that would change on Monday if the VIX were to close above 1645. And if that doesn't happen on Monday, that upper channel line is going to continue to move lower daily. The VIX for the NASDAQ and for the Russell 2000 are both in agreement that the market should continue to move higher from here. Looking at the world of Bitcoin, the futures contract and the major ETFs are all still on buy signals. We're going to see a little selling this morning, but that's probably not enough to generate a sell signal on Monday. Looking at the world of currencies, the US dollar index dropped a little last week. It is back on a sell signal, mostly on the back of a rising Japanese yen, while other currencies like the euro and the Canadian dollar are still on daily sell signals. Now, while the stock market was moving up last week, so were the bonds, the TLT chasing the XBB higher. We've got emerging market and junk bonds all moving up on the week. So right now, higher bond prices is supportive for higher stock prices. That, of course, can change. And of course, if bonds are rising, bond yields are falling, and the market likes that at the moment. Now, $600 is still a big round number. On Friday, we got down to $599.38 on the SPY. No early warning signal just yet. We're trying to get to 609.38. That is our next target. On the equal weighted S&P 500, we've been stuck at 187 for a few days. We're trying to break out above that. For the NASDAQ, we're still above $500. That's bullish. And we still have not taken another run at the recent highs. So the top of our projected trading range is currently at 515.63. Then looking at the Russell 2000, we're stuck here at the 243.75 level, looking to move up to 250. And then, of course, if we're going to have a Christmas rally, we want the micro caps involved, and they're still doing well up at all-time highs. And we're looking for a move up to 140.63 for the iShares for the micro cap sector. Looking at the Canadian market, the iShares for the TSX 60 hit a new all-time high on Friday, trying to get to 39.06, which is not only a daily but a weekly target. And then above that, it's 40.63. Looking at the Vanguard Canada ETF, it's coming up to its next target of $53.13, and it hit a new all-time high on Friday. Now, in the Canadian market, this week's going to be all about bank earnings, and the banks, of course, have been doing incredibly well, except the TD Bank, and so we'll have to see if the market wants to do some profit taking off of those earnings this week. Now, the Christmas rally, everybody thinks it's going to happen. And for it to happen, we need these big cap tech stocks to start to break out to higher highs. And, looking at the size of Apple right now, which is the biggest company by market cap, it's 5 times bigger than Walmart at the moment. And so we've got Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft. So all the usual players in the Magnificent Seven group are still the biggest players in the market, and we'll have to watch and see if the market wants to take these stocks higher. That would certainly be supportive for a nice Christmas rally. Now, there's Apple closing at all-time new high. Our next target was 237.50. We closed at 237.33 on Friday, so hopefully you locked in some profits up there. You still got some shares left, and we'll try to get those to 243.75 and then ultimately 250 if the market does want to break out from this level. Looking at Amazon, if we can take out the recent high, then 225 would certainly come into play. Looking at Meta found a lot of resistance up just under $600 there. And so if we can take out 593.75 and then 600, then $625 would come into play. Microsoft trading right in the middle of the range for the last month and looking for a move to take us out above 437.50. For NVIDIA, we've bounced off the 131.25 level, trying to break out above 150. If we can do that, then 156.25, 162.50 come into play. For Shopify, 112.50 in New York. In Toronto, 175 would be our next major targets for Shopify. And then for Tesla, we're trying to get up to 375. If we can do that, then $400 should come into play. And of course, just above that is 406.25. So if we're going to have a Christmas rally, these stocks need to start to play. And let's see if we can start to break out and make higher highs into the end of 2024. Next up, let's take a look at the most actively traded stocks from Friday's trading action. Now, when I go through this list, anything that's in the channel is a potential trend change for Monday. Otherwise, I don't think we had any trend changes on Friday. Friday was a holiday shortened day. A lot of people took the whole day off. So no change for NVIDIA, new high for Mara. So you might have been able to lock in some additional profits there. A new low for Banco. Then we've got Supermicro coming down, closing above the upper channel line. So technically a close below 28.52 would give us a sell signal on Monday. Bitfarms traded through the upper channel line but did not close above it. So looking for a close above 225 on Monday. With crypto down in the pre-market this morning, we may not see that. Tesla still in the channel. A close below $328.44 on Monday would give us a sell signal. Inside day for Plug Power. There's Intel trading up into the channel. If it closed above $24.77, I would not buy it. Inside day for Palantir on Friday. Then we had a new high for this move for Rivian, but it closed just up a penny on the day. And then a new high for SoFi on Friday. No change in trend, of course. There is NEO closing at the lower channel line. A close on Monday above 475 would give us a buy signal. There's a new high for this move for Opendoor. And then last up, we've got Lucid. Lucid sitting right on the edge of a new daily buy signal, looking for a close on Monday above $2.20. And we closed at 218 on Friday. Looking north of the border, let's take a look at the TSX most actives. Now, anytime that I bring up a personal portfolio, the first thing I do is I go to the daily panic zone chart and I just quickly hit the down arrow key. And what I'm looking for is to see if there's any new early warning signals. So there was the last early warning signal for Suncor. And as I go through the list of most actives, we need to get to right there. There's Bank of Nova Scotia with an early warning signal. So just something to keep on the back of your mind that, there's could be something brewing for that particular stock. We had one for Dominion Lending, but it looks like the market traded through it on Friday. There's one for CIBC, so another bank stock with a potential top there. There's Manulife. You can see the last early warning signal, and then we had a little selling, nothing aggressive so far. BCE, of course, coming from the opposite end of where the banks are, off the bottom of the panic zones, a pressure zone has formed. Of course, anytime you see what I call a skid mark across the bottom of the screen, you know the stock's broken. And what happened, we were expecting a rally from this point here, and it started and then failed very quickly. So that's why you get the elongated pressure zone at the bottom of the screen. And then Baytech, last early warning signal. And as you can see, we've made several lower highs. We seem to be finding support under the $4 area here. So what was the low on Friday? It was $3.96. So it looks like the market thinks there's value here around $4. But, these are a series of lower highs. And that's not a pretty picture going forward. But of course, you could draw a nice downtrend line, and a breakout of that downtrend line could be what the market is looking for. Now, another early warning signal, of course, is down at the bottom of the screen here. This negative chevron is indicating that we may be putting in a possible top here. It's important to note that this chevron will fade away if we don't confirm a top in a couple of trading days. So just be aware these can pop up and fade away. The early warning signal on the panic zone chart does not fade away. And of course, I don't see any red here at all. So a chevron, then some red starting to develop at the bottom of the screen here. That could be an indication that this particular stock wants to move lower. Now, anything that's closing in the channel, I consider as a possible trend change for the day. And that is certainly not Suncor coming into Monday's trading action. Sun Life closing at the upper channel line. There is Enbridge closing above the upper channel line. Now, Canadian Natural Resources in the channel, a close above $47.92 would give us a buy signal on Monday. I'd be more convinced if we closed above the recent high than just a close above the upper channel line. No change in trend for Bank of Nova Scotia, of course. And then we've got TD Bank trailing along the upper channel line here. It is on a buy signal right now, looking to see if we can take out the November high. Then we've got a new high for Dominion Lending on Friday. Then we've got CIBC closing in the channel once again. A close below $90 on Monday would give us a new sell signal for CIBC. We've got Manulife Financial. It's still on a buy signal here, looking for a close on Monday below $44.67. And then looking at Bell, we're looking for a close on Monday above $38.25. And then looking at Baytech nowhere near the channel at the moment, so not looking at a potential buy signal for Baytech on Monday. And last up, TELUS on a very weak buy signal here, not a lot of upward momentum at the moment. The pros are taking control, so there is some hope for this particular trade at this time. Then if you're looking up, 22.27 and 22.66 would be my next targets to the upside for TELUS. Okay, folks, that's all for this morning's presentation. I see the stock index futures have firmed up a bit. The S&P and the NASDAQ are currently a little above fair value, so I think it's going to be a fairly quiet open on Monday morning at 9:30. You have a great day. Stay warm out there. Next time you'll hear my voice is on Tuesday morning.